Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to Apply. All right, today I have Will Greene on the line, and he's CEO over at Banyan Infrastructure. And this particular interview is part of our Milken Global Conference coverage series, where we bring you the best of attendees, of VIPs, of speakers, of panelists from the Milken Global Conference over in Beverly Hills, one of my favorite events to attend yearly. I like to call it my Super Bowl of conferences. Well, Will, welcome to the show. Let's get it on.
Hey, awesome. Thanks a lot, Adam, and it's a pleasure to be on the show.
All right, Will, so I know we're recording this in August, so, the Milken Conference it's a couple months past, but I'm glad we could finally book you. I know you're busy, and I know things are going well over at Banyan Infrastructure. I guess first thing first, I do want to talk about the conference just briefly. So, how was your experience? Have you been before? Is this the first time? What's your connection? How'd you get there?
First time actually participating and being down there.
Ooh, and of course, congrats. I like a newbie. Come on, that's awesome. So was it quite a spectacle, huh?
Yeah, amazing. And of course, I always love being down in LA. I would say that, if I was looking back on that time, it was a combination of, really intense, I'll even use the word like high stakes, just a ton of really amazing ideas, a lot of really interesting people, crossing like every single type of climate, health, trade tensions, tariff discussions, like literally everything that's like a hot or a not hot topic. And I kind of walked out of there feeling just a ton of energy, and at the same time, just an awareness of the caution and still kind of the optimism for the future.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm curious, and if you hopefully you go back next year and you become a staple there, but one of the things that I'll just tell you, if you do choose to go that route, is that what happens is this amazing community, and it builds year over year, and you'll see the same people that attend year after year. This is now my fourth year, I think, off the top of my head, attending, and every single year you see some of the same people the community builds. And what I've found is, in retrospect, and as my understanding of it is, it's there's no other time where in a couple of days, all these important people that nobody has time get together. So it's almost like a reunion. It's pretty cool. So that's what you have to look forward to, hopefully, if you come back.
Yeah, incredible group, and just seeing the influence of AI and how it's unfolding and touching our lives at every single level. It's super interesting times.
Yeah. Well, let's switch it up a bit here, Will. I do want to get into Banyan Infrastructure. So maybe first off, tell us a little bit more about the company.
Yeah, Banyan Infrastructure. We were founded back in 2018. Me and my co-founder, Amanda Lee, who was actually one of the very first employees at a place called Generate Capital with Scott, Jigger, and Matan when Generate Capital was founded. We were trying to tackle the problem of making it so that investing in infrastructure via a relatively black box concept of project finance, it could just become less manual, less bespoke, kind of more digitized, more transparent. We really want people to invest more money into infrastructure, especially energy infrastructure. And we want them to be able to do it quickly, transparently, and speak one language, ultimately unlocking capital markets. So that's why we founded the company. We're 7 years old now.
Wow. So did you, I want to go further into that initial vision when you were thinking about founding this company. And the reason I asked this question, by the way, it's one of my pay it forward questions. If you, a lot of business owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of executives that watch this, sometimes people are, they're wondering, is the idea or what they're moving forward with, is this the right thing? Is this the right time? How did you know this was this company, and even just it was the right time? Take us a little bit just further into your thought process of what made you take the leap to start it.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story. When I was a child, I grew up on a farm in Virginia, and there was this beech nut tree that was growing at the edge of our property about 200 feet from a river. The river connected to the Chesapeake Bay. It was a saltwater river. And I'll make this kind of short and get to the point here for you, but the water levels change over time, and the saltwater touched the tree died. And it was something that I climbed and loved, and it had this massive impact on me as a child. And you can connect the dots here and understand why trees and banyan and all these things kind of connect in weird ways. But one of the things that I've carried forward for my entire life is I want to do something for the world we live in, and I want to make the world we live in something where every future person has the opportunity to have that tree in their life, or whatever it is, right? So when I met Amanda, and she's talking about, what she cares about, which is she really wants to make the world more resilient. It was an almost immediate alignment. And really what Banyan's trying to do is make it so that we deploy more infrastructure that's actually better for both people and planet. And we effectively go out and get, more high quality roads, better trash and waste management, better energy, right? And energy is becoming a really incredibly important topic. We need more and more energy, especially with AI now. And so ultimately what we're trying to do is make it so that we can have a better world to live in that's more sustainable and is more accessible to every single person.
I want to go further into your vision and Banyan's Infrastructure's vision to being really a hub of renewable energy finance. Talk about any strategies or partnerships or, how do you pull this off?
I hope that, you might remember 2008 in the mortgage-backed security event. Or maybe you've...
I remember. I was at my first big firm. The height of the market is that literally I could pull it. I could throw a dart on a bar chart. The height of the market is when I started my career as a licensed representative in the financial services industry. Every day after that, it went down, baby.
So one of the things we're trying to do is make it so that capital markets and effectively capitalism can drive this outcome that we're trying to reach. We're copying the mortgage-backed security playbook, except that we've added incredible transparency through a data platform. And then we built out some really, really key partnerships. I, of course, want to give a shout out to the Milken Institute. I also want to call out Coalition for Green Capital, which was recently written up in Impact Alpha. We've connected with firms like Sustainable Capital Advisors and IPC Sure. Groups like this are basically creating both a combination of a community and the ability to understand that there's both money, projects, and people that are impacted by the work we're doing. And they're all very emission aligned. So it's kind of an incredible moment in time, even though there's just a lot changing right now. The world is changing around us almost every single day. And I think with change, the more people that are in these communities, the more likely we're able to achieve the outcomes and in a way that's capitally efficient. And so I named a few names in there, but of course, once you start to lean into it, we've connected up with, groups like Salisbury Hill Financial, Climate First Bank. You get an end-to-end life cycle where you've got people who are finding projects, people who are doing projects, and people who are financing projects. And that allows you to understand, what do these projects look like? What shape do they have? What are the metrics? How do we understand if these are good or bad projects to invest in? And then actually start to do the work to build these projects and finance these projects.
Let's talk a little bit more about the technology of the software, maybe the evolution of the software. Is it serving investors, energy developers? Maybe talk high level about the software. Let's get into that piece and its evolution and plans maybe for the future.
Yeah, I love that question. When Amanda and I started, we were heavily focused on energy developers. We decided at the time that we really want to unlock capital flow. There were many, many more developers and fewer capital flow providers. So we shifted from developers into effectively debt and infrastructure funds. And we provided a highly efficient platform to allow people to run through their workflows from origination through to investment committee, through to actually servicing and managing those projects from a financial perspective. And so we did an early case study with Sumitomo SMBC, went through their entire workflow. They had literally a quarter of a year that it would take them just to go through a single project and analyze how much time or the steps they needed to get to IC, the investment committee. And so before, they would be able to do one project every 3 to 4 months. And with the platform, they're able to cut that by about 10x, which is pretty significant. Wow. So if you imagine 80 to 90 days and you drop it down to 2 weeks, a big change.
That's huge.
And after we got through to the initial tranche with getting to the financiers, we've actually moved back into owner-operators, and the next step really is developers.
And where do you see this going? Talk to me about as these case studies build, and obviously there's some successes here. If they're saving that amount of time, they're also correct me if I'm off, they're also deciding what they don't want to do faster, right? And not spending time there. So just the efficiency of it sounds amazing.
100%. I'm going to share the crazy dream here. So I talked about mortgage-backed securities. The dream is that we can combine the concept of what Bloomberg did and the concept of the mortgage-backed security market and create the ability to have secondary markets that truly drive investment back into infrastructure and broad-scale infrastructure, right? We, of course, want to deploy better and better infrastructure, better technology, better for the planet, more accessible to all communities everywhere. but we want these capital solutions to be so efficient and so effective that they can come back to as many projects as possible. And that means that, effectively the big dream is a combination of a Bloomberg terminal on top of a mortgage-backed security solution, except consider it a project finance-backed solution marketplace. So creating a marketplace where people can come in and do infrastructure investment for project finance assets.
That's amazing. I don't know why I never thought about this before, because I guess it was just part of my life, and it's just there, and you never think about when it's there. At some point, when you say Bloomberg terminal, like that's, it's common knowledge. Everybody knows that it's accepted. It's been around forever, right? But at some point, that was a novel idea. That wasn't there. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. Like, imagine when I'm not old enough to know. Maybe I am. I don't know exactly when it was launched, but I don't. At least in my adult life, I don't recall when it was launched. You know what I mean? So, like, can you imagine at some point that was just like, what? You're gonna do what? You're gonna create this terminal? It's gonna do this. Like, no way. That's like crazy. And so now imagine, assuming you hopefully pull off this dream and what you want to do. One day they'll look back and it'll be the whatever terminal, however you name it, and it'll be like, oh yeah, that's always been there. What do you mean? This is how we do our deals. That's an amazing dream. I love it. I love seeing that's
entirely, and it'll totally change how infrastructure investment's done.
Wow. And how does this, and when you're talking infrastructure, I know it's assumed, but I just want to make sure. So we're talking projects all over, right? Like, can you get a little bit into that piece of it? Like when you're thinking about like deals?
We're primarily focused in the United States, but of course we have a small footprint outside the United States. Ultimately, this turns into a global answer. Yeah. And we also, we're not centric to one type of technology. It's the types of investment flows that people are doing and how they're figuring out how to determine if these are good investments or bad investments. You asked earlier about the communities. The fact that we have the Milken Institute and the fact that we have these financiers like Climate First Bank, sustainable capital advisors, these are all different perspectives and different groups. We've actually signed up over 1,000 different groups that have, agreed to participate in effectively going through and studying the types of projects and the types of deals across the board. Is it wind? Is it solar? Is it geo? Is it nuclear, right? Or are we looking at other types of, infrastructure, energy assets? And it extends down to waste gas into energy, battery storage, EVs, like anything you can imagine that is a fundamental, critical infrastructure component for how you and me live our day-to-day lives and almost take for granted nowadays.
Well, Will, this has been great having you on the show today, learning more about your background, all the great work you're doing over at Banyan Infrastructure. And I'm in, man. I love to see this big dream. And I'm going to be like, I remember I had him on the show, X amount of years ago. And I remember he was talking about this. Now, look, I'm excited. This is one of my favorite things about doing what I do. That being said, Will, if somebody's listening or watching this and they want to follow up or they want to learn more about Banyan Infrastructure, how do they do that?
Of course, come to www.banyaninfrastructure.com. Check out our website. We'll be at RE Plus in Vegas in September. Likewise, we'll be in New York Climate Week. So we'll be around at all those events. There's multiple LUMAs where you can just go to the LUMA and check for events and type Banyan Infrastructure. We have things in almost every city in the U.S. right now. So there's events going in San Francisco literally this month of August, and then a ton of things going on in September. And then I will personally be up in Alaska in September for the launch of our Alaska initiative. So a ton of stuff going on. And Adam, really seriously, thank you for inviting me on the show.
Absolutely. Happy to have you on. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can connect with Will and Banyan Infrastructure. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Will, thanks again for coming to the show.
Thanks.